Good morning and welcome to the Art Lewis Show. This is Matt Felan with the Great Lakes Bay Regional Alliance filling in today for Art. Art is on vacation here at the end of August, and I got to tell you, whatever he's doing, he picked a phenomenal week to break away and recharge the battery before we get through the Labor Day weekend and start what always kind of feels like the new year ahead. I don't know about all of you. For whatever reason, I always kind of felt there were two starts to the year. The first being January 1st, of course, but there's nothing like that going back to school time or that day after Labor Day where it feels like the world has restarted again. And at least, in some of the work that I do, maybe some of the calls I've been making this summer will once again be returned. Maybe some of those emails will no longer have the on vacation out of office. And it's just kind of a rite of passage in the state of Michigan that we start anew the day after Labor Day. So this hour, I know we're going to be joined by State Representative Matthew Bierlein. When he calls in, we will chat with him. But until then, thought we might chat about a few things that are going on here in the Great Lakes Bay region. Some news that maybe you saw and really kind of what it means here to the region. And, let's start out right away when we think about going back to school. I don't know about all of you that are on social media, but if you're like me and you're an old guy and you have your Facebook account, my Facebook this morning was littered with back to school photos, the same as last Tuesday, another day where it was littered with back to school photos. But when we talk about education here in the Great Lakes Bay region, I think one of the things that is often maybe a little bit overlooked is how robust our higher education systems are here in the Great Lakes Bay region. I often, when I'm out speaking or chatting with folks, when we talk about the region, we talk about different strengths. I'll ask folks in the room, how many college students do you think are currently enrolled in the Great Lakes Bay region? So we're going to do this now to Jonathan Dent, who's looking at me with a perplexed face. Let's see how Jonathan is.
Uh-oh.
Jonathan, how many students do you think we have in the Great Lakes Bay region in terms of higher education?
Higher education.
Yes.
Okay. Are we counting CMU?
Yes, we are. That's the region. And we're also counting Alma College because it's right there. That's really the region when we talk about higher ed.
15,000 pops into my head.
So Jonathan goes with 15,000.
I might be wrong.
He is definitely wrong.
Probably am.
It's not a might, folks. It is definitely.
I'm wrong.
But this is what's great, and this is why this conversation is important. The Great Lakes Bay region is home to a minimum 50,000 college students.
Holy moly.
Every single fall. So I want you guys to just kind of stop and think about this. First, we're home to two just world-class community colleges with Delta College and Mid-Michigan College. And I'm not sure folks fully realize, but they kind of have agreements in terms of what their service areas are. And Mid-Michigan College, which is based out of Clare County, has a very beautiful facility now in Mount Pleasant. They also are providing classes out in the Thumb, and they are one of the great offerings for community colleges in the Thumb, where Delta College has the traditional lock on Bay, Saginaw, Midland, Aranac, etc. But you have two community colleges. And then as Jonathan said, do we count CMU? And absolutely we do. That's here in the region. So you have CMU, Saginaw Valley State University, Northwood University, Davenport University, Alma College, the Saginaw Chippewa Indian Tribe Tribal College. So folks, when you think about that, you're talking minimum 50,000 students. And I'm saying minimum 50,000 students with an asterisk. Right now, our enrollments are really kind of at some of their lows that you've seen across the Great Lakes Bay region. There's two kind of factors that have played into that. Number one, it's just what population is available. So public schools are seeing this. They're seeing year after year declining enrollments. We've seen it in higher education, but higher education, that number really got bolstered during COVID, folks, because a lot of kids, they didn't want to take an online class. They didn't want to pay money for going to an institution of higher education and then just taking a class online. So some opted out. I will also say, I think we as society have done a much better job of the windshield wiper effect, which is kind of that, okay, we tell everyone, you got to get a 4-year degree. You're not going to be successful without it. And then we stop and go, no, everyone, we need you into the skilled trades. And then the lingo kind of goes back and forth. And I've stated for a very long time, folks, we have to do both. When we think about what we need to produce in terms of talent in this region, yeah, do we need folks with 4-year degrees? Absolutely. And it's a gateway to more advanced education. If you look at the numbers historically, you are in a position to be paid annually at a much better rate with a 4-year degree and beyond. But at the same time, here in this region, we build things, folks. I mean, this is a manufacturing hotbed still. And if your child wants to be a welder, an electrician, a plumber, and a pipe fitter, they're going to do very well, without college debt, which is a remarkable thing to do. So those kind of factors led to this decline in enrollments. But last week, I don't know if anyone saw this, Central Michigan University reported that for the first time since 2014, their enrollment is increasing. I got to tell you, this is a big moment, because if you look at their enrollment, which is, going to be at the 15,000-ish range, ballpark, a notch below that. At one point, CMU alone was at 26,000 undergraduate students. So that will show you kind of the impact of that decline here in the region. So why this is important is I'm really hoping that this signals kind of a shift in the trends, and that you're going to start seeing our universities and higher education institutions growing again. And I think we have a chance for a variety of reasons. Number one, although we still hear, grandma has COVID, someone I know has COVID. COVID as we knew it in terms of stopping our lives is over, right? Which is great. And with that, kids have gotten into the regular flow at institutions of higher learning. So I think one of the first things you're seeing is just a return to normalcy in higher education. And students who maybe weren't so disrupted by the pandemic are now once again kind of looking at the traditional, what do I do after I graduate from high school? So I think more students are attending school. That's number one. Number two, we're just seeing really important things. And later this week, I'm going to have Dr. Michael Gavin and Dr. George Grant from Delta and SVSU join me for an hour to talk about their historic partnership on how they're working together to run kids through Delta directly into SVSU and get them that 4-year degree with an agreement where the two institutions work together. I'm really looking forward to that discussion, because in some of the things happening in Lansing, they're looking to allow for 2 free years of community college for all of our students. So the importance of Delta having that relationship now with SVSU will allow our kids to be able to kind of two-step this into, okay, I'm going to get my first 60 credits for free. They're going to be paid for. I'm going to get my associates. And now I have an automatic path into going to SVSU. That is going to do nothing but really set these institutions up to see increases in enrollment, which is a big deal. And then I just kind of think, finally, as you look at this, is look at what the jobs are doing here in this region. Because at the end of the day, kids that are in our high schools, they see what their parents are doing. They see what those jobs look like. And we're about to see a little bit of a shift, folks, here in the Great Lakes Bay region. And I know you guys have heard from the WSGW newsroom kind of a lot of these announcements, but if I put a couple of them together, okay? CMU's moving all 4 years of the medical school to downtown Saginaw. And there's a massive project, what's called the Medical Diamond, which they're going to build around the medical school. And you're going to see incredible investment happening in downtown Saginaw, but a lot kind of in that health sector in coordination, especially with Covenant and My Michigan in Saginaw. So that's number one. Number two, I think everyone has seen, but we're expecting 1,100 new jobs at Corning in Thomas Township in the solar industry, which means more people. 1,100 jobs, that means people from all over are going to be coming here to fill those jobs. SK Siltron over in Bay City is in growth mode. They're in the 200s right now in terms of employees. They're expecting to get north of 500 by 2026. And then the recent nearly $1 billion with a B dollar announcement out of Midland with investments into their R&D facilities. You look at this and where those jobs are. Now we're talking healthcare. We're talking engineering. We're talking skilled trades. You're talking PhD chemists. I mean, these are jobs that mandate some level of post-high school education, but a lot of them will be in that higher education side. They're going to be either 2-year programs or they're going to be 4-year programs and then beyond. And I can tell you, I think a lot of people are starting to feel, to a certain extent, a 4-year degree can often feel like a high school diploma in many fields. I know if you're going to be a physical therapist, occupational therapist, these are now mandated beyond the 4 years. So when you kind of put all this together, folks, kind of where I'm going with this, that announcement from CMU this past week was really eye-opening because this has been a trend that we've been battling for the better part of a decade, a pandemic, and we kept seeing these declining numbers. And if we can get our institutions of higher learning to be in growth mode in terms of enrollment, to see everyone kind of, the higher tide lifts all ships, if we see that, that has such a tremendous impact on the regional economy, on restaurants, on shops, on small retailers. And Lord knows, I'm sure another dollar something will pop up somewhere. And trust me, these students are in there. This is a big piece to our future and something that if you just saw last week, you may have said, oh, that's nice. But I hope you know that it has really significant importance here in the region. We're going to take a break and we'll be back after these messages. Good morning and welcome back to the Art Lewis Show. It's Matt Felan from the Great Lakes Bay Regional Alliance filling in here for Art. And we ended up with a little open time here this hour. So taking advantage to talk about a few things that are definitely going on. And Jonathan, as you and I have gotten to know each other over the course of the last couple of years, I'm guessing you don't know every detail.
Oh, I know everything.
Yeah, I don't think you do yet.
I talk on the radio. I must know everything.
You have to, right? So I have a degree in international relations.
Oh, really?
So yeah, I went to Michigan State University, and they have this really cool residential college there called James Madison College. It gets confusing because people hear James Madison and they think it's the university in Harrisonburg, Virginia, but it's a residential college within Michigan State. And a lot of kids end up going to law school, which is what I thought I was going to do there, but went the route of international relations. And then through my career, there's been times when I've been able to use it, but not that often. So I'm not going to lie, though, I really keep up to date on some things. So while I was there are certain areas, clearly when you have a degree in international relations, doesn't mean that you know detailed information about every part of the world, right? Can you imagine having to take courses on everything? Like, it's impossible, right?
And it's always changing.
So there were two areas that I kind of focused on. One was Latin America and the Caribbean, just kind of fascinating, some personal interest there through some cultural links. But I will also say at the time, and you were like, oh, well, it's a little more quiet here, but I really want to know about the history, was Middle East studies. So I spent quite a bit of time learning. And I'll tell you, my teacher, he was an older native of Israel. And the only way that I could put it was, imagine me teaching a class 20 years from now about college football in the 90s, 2000s, 2010s, right? Meaning it's something that I lived through, I had a deep passion about. I could tell you everything. I can tell you the details. This guy lived it. He was in the Haganah. He was in the Israeli military. He was part of a lot that went on. So now whenever I see anything going on in the Middle East, I start reading. I can't help myself because it reconnects to my education background. It reconnects to a lot of what I've learned. And I don't know, folks, if you saw kind of what happened over the weekend. I know there's kind of been this cloud, and it's funny to say it that way because there's been a cloud hanging over the Middle East for a long time, but a current cloud hanging following Israel killing a Hamas leader in Iran, which seems to be close to a month ago. And since that day, kind of everyone's been waiting for the retaliation. What's going to happen next? What is Iran going to do? Are they going to attack? Are they going to use kind of their groups that are close to them? So still Hamas that is hid into a lot of areas as that battle takes place. But then you have Hezbollah and Lebanon. And then you have the Houthi rebels, which are based in Yemen. And it's just kind of claimed that Iran and their Revolutionary Guard pays for all of these folks to a certain extent, right? But Hezbollah, because it was their leader, it was kind of expected that they would be part of whatever counter was going to happen. And Israel had gotten word that Hezbollah was going to have a large attack coming out of Lebanon into northern Israel. So what they did was a preemptive strike. And I don't know if you saw that over the weekend. So a couple things they did. Number one, they put their jets in the air and they were knocking out drones. This Iron Dome in Israel, if you've seen any of the video footage, folks, is unbelievable because rocket after rocket by the thousands get fired towards Israel. And this Iron Dome defense system, they launch rockets kind of as a counter and they knock them out of the sky. So when Iran did that, I don't even know if I can call it an attack because Iran's got to be the only country that I know that says, hey, everybody, next Thursday, 9 a.m., we're going to attack. We wanted to let you know. Like, it doesn't seem like it has legitimacy when you do it that way. It almost seems like it's more symbolic in nature for the country or the people, and it doesn't seem like what we would consider to be normal warfare. So, they kind of got ahead of this before this was going on. The Iron Dome, just like it did with Iran's symbolic attack a few months back, they really were able to successfully stop a lot of these rockets from getting there. But it's kind of led us now to look at this week and just kind of say, okay, what's next? Because there's been a lot of discussion on a ceasefire there. Is that going to happen? Is it not going to happen? I know that our administration is clearly highly involved in that. There are still missing Americans and Israelis from the attack in the spring who were taken hostage. I know there's been a lot of discussion as to how we get these folks back. And clearly, I think everyone wants to see all these folks get back. And at the same time, what's happened in Palestine is pretty difficult to watch because a lot of innocent people, have really been victim to warfare. So the whole thing has just been horrendous. But I think there's kind of a big week ahead, Jonathan, in terms of what's going to happen. Our cooler head's going to prevail. Is Hezbollah going to now work with the other folks, including Iran and the Revolutionary Guard, for a large-scale attack on Israel? For that matter, some of the things I've been reading is don't be surprised if Israel continues the preemptive strikes where they knock out a lot of what could be threats to just too many rockets or too many drones. But it's just one of those things that, I look back again, Jonathan, to taking these classes in the mid-90s. I was taking this.
Mm-hmm.
And they were talking about BB with Benjamin Netanyahu and his role then. And it's like 30 years later, here we are, and we're still in the same mess, and there's no progress. And people love to do a lot of finger pointing, especially at American presidents. Like, why didn't they fix it? Folks who've gone through Democrats, Republicans, far right, far left, no one's been able to work with folks to get things fixed. It's just still a chaotic mess, but it's something that I definitely have, someone who's studied this and has a great interest in it and worries about world affairs. This is something that still has my attention because we have a lot of firepower over there. We moved a lot of our assets over there over the course of the last month. We have carriers, we have battleship groups, and those are just things we know about. Trust me, there's a lot that we don't know about that are over there, but we have a full fighting force there ready for whatever's next. So something, guys, nothing to alarm yourself about, but if you are someone that cares about international relations and affairs, a lot going on there over the weekend, a lot to kind of keep your attention. And all I can say is that I hope cooler heads do prevail and that they can find a ceasefire and maybe end some of the senseless killing, but definitely something to look at. So we're going to take another break and we'll be back with the Art Lewis Show. Good morning and welcome back to the Art Lewis Show. It's Monday, August 26th, folks. And, that last segment we talked about Middle East affairs, a little heavy for a Monday. So we're going to tone it back down here for the rest of the hour. And we're going to talk about two of at least my favorite things along with Jonathan. Although I think each of us may have a little bit more love on one side than the other. But we're going to talk about sports for the next 15 minutes because it's a huge sports week here in the Great Lakes Bay region and further across the state of Michigan. So I can't believe we're talking about this, but Jonathan, it's time for Saginaw Spirit training camp. Is that correct?
Yeah. Players reported last week and they're into training camp this week at the Dow.
Okay, so let's start here, Jonathan. Your Memorial Cup champions, the defending best team in all of the Ontario Hockey's 3 leagues, our Saginaw Spirit. We're back. When does the season actually start? I mean, this is crazy. It feels like it's 3 billion degrees outside. I walked 10 feet from my Jeep to the door of the studio. I was dripping sweat, and we're playing hockey.
The same was true when the season ended, though, at the beginning of June.
Seriously. Do these guys get a break? Is hockey really like 9 months long?
It is when you're the Memorial Cup champions and you play all the way through the postseason like that. Well, almost. There was a break in there, but play to the end anyway.
Thank God these kids are 16, 17, 18, 19 years old, because that schedule is grueling. So when does that, I know you were just speaking, when's the official season start?
Season starts Wednesday, September 25th with a home game against the Windsor Spitfires.
Wow. So
here's a bit of news about the Windsor Spitfires. I don't know if you heard this. We talked about it on the morning team last week. They signed Keanu Reeves to their roster. John Wick.
They have a guy named John Wick on the team?
No. They signed Keanu Reeves to their roster.
Actual Keanu Reeves?
Yeah, for a 1-day contract.
I was saying, isn't he like my age? Isn't he old? Isn't he like 49 or something insane?
It was a charity stunt thing because apparently he tried out for their team when he was a teenager as a goaltender.
Folks, you heard it. Craig Goslin is now going to consider me on a contract to the Saginaw Spirit. I think one day with my, and if you've ever seen me skate, it's the greatest thing ever. I keep my balance with my left skate, and then I just push with my right skate, and then I glide, and I'm like, oh, look at me go. Like I always tell people, I would have been a phenomenal hockey player. Shooting a puck, hand-eye coordination, hitting someone, all that. Just the ice skating thing seemed to get in the way.
I can't say the same about myself.
So, question for you. Training camps going on, 26th, 27th, 28th. For our listeners, is there a way for them to be a part of this, to attend, to watch? What's going on with the Spirit?
I think it's free to attend at the Dow Event Center. Anybody can come and check it out. They've got skills sessions going on right now, actually. Defense skills sessions, forward skills sessions at 10, goalie skills sessions beginning at 11, and then they've got a few practices this evening. The fun things are going to be tomorrow and Wednesday. They've got a couple practice games between the two blue and white teams. Tomorrow's will be at 7:30. Wednesday will be at 10 a.m. You can find all the information on their website, saginawspirit.com. But no, it's an exciting time. I haven't been to check out any of their practices, but now that I live closer, I might go to tomorrow night's game and just check it out. I've been to a preseason game before, but
I don't think you have any choice, especially because, I'm a junkie when it comes to football. Like, people have, their obsessions or their dirty habits. Mine, folks, is football. It's a problem. Like, I admit it. Yours seems to be the Saginaw Spirit. You have to be there. So last question for you before we go to break. Our good friend, Craig Goslin, a lot of you guys know him as the Goose. He's a long family friend for me. So in my family, we refer to him as Pineapple. So folks, anyone that knows Craig Goslin, if you see him out and about, you're anywhere, just call him Pineapple. Say, hey, what's up, Pineapple? And then let me know kind of his reaction. Totally appropriate, folks. It's on the up and up. It goes back to high school days. It's just a phenomenal human being. But I saw the Pineapple recently in an event, and I was asking, okay, so you got to the top of the mountain and here you are. I said, normally it takes quite a while to get back, but it seems like you have a very good team still in place, potentially for a repeat run, definitely a shot at winning our conference again. Like, what do you think? And his eyes lit up. So, Jonathan, early kind of scouting report. What kind of team are the Spirit going to have as we go into the 24-25 season?
Knowing before that any drafts happened, I was like, Spirit make it to the playoffs again at the very least. I think they make it 1 or 2 rounds deep into the playoffs. And then the drafts came through. I think they have a chance. A chance at making it to the OHL final.
I like it. And Michael Misa, he's back, correct?
Michael Misa's back. This is his NHL draft year, so we're looking at him to pop off. Zane Parekh returns. I'm seeing Kayla Mangoni back. Igor Chernyshov, who I think he underwent surgery recently, so we might not see him at the beginning of the season. I don't know for sure. I don't have any inside sources. These are just rumors. But he's on the training camp roster, so I guess that bodes well. He was a first round pick in the NHL draft for the San Jose Sharks, and the Spirit picked him up in the CHL import draft. I think he's from Moscow, Russia native. So, and he's a good prospect.
So tell me about Parekh really quickly.
Yep.
Because he's coming back. Was he drafted?
Yes, he was picked by the Calgary Flames 9th overall.
But yet he's coming back. How does that work? Because when you hear that, right, I'm going to be honest.
Yeah.
I hear kids pick number 9 overall. I just picture, hey, great seeing you, Zane. Appreciate it. Good luck up in Calgary. How's he back? How does that work?
There are some players who that's true for. It's okay. You did it. The NHL organization is just going to take you and develop you in their own organization. But Zane could theoretically play for 2 more years here. It has to do with what the Calgary Flames want to do with him. If they want to let him develop in the OHL while he can and be just a beast at the CHL level, they can pull him up to the AHL. I think they have an affiliate with, and eventually up to the NHL. I know Pavel Minchikov, who was picked 10th overall a couple years ago, he got pulled right up and started playing with the Anaheim Ducks. He kind of skipped the AHL level, and that's a lot of those top picks tend to do that. But he stuck with us for a little while, and then we ended up trading him. But he was with us after his draft year too.
So here's what I'd say. Congratulations, Zane, because it's amazing being picked number 9. But if he wants to stay here 2 more years, we'll keep him here in Saginaw on the Great Lakes.
He had a record-breaking year last year. I want to see him break those records again.
I love it. We will be back after these messages. Welcome back to the Art Lewis Show. It's Matt Felan filling in for Art. The Art Lewis Show is sponsored by Westside Decorating Center. Visit them at 5789 State Street in Saginaw or online at westsidedecoratingcenter.com. And I actually had the chance to go there, Jonathan. I was at Westside Decorating Center on Friday buying some wallpaper. They seemed very happy to run my credit card. Just a great store, great service. A lot of amazing products, and really appreciate their sponsorship of the Art Lewis Show. So, folks, it has been an interesting hours. We've been able to chat with a lot of different things that are going on across the world, frankly, or in our backyard. And that last segment, we talked about the spirit, but we are now going to turn to my favorite subject and my favorite time of year. Folks, it's football season. It's officially here. The first college games of meeting were on Saturday. Got to spend the day. I kind of make an excuse. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to do paperwork on Saturday in the basement. The things got to get filed. Things have just got to be done. I just happened to choose between 12 and 3:30 when, I don't know, Florida State and Georgia Tech from Dublin just happened to be on TV. I was able to do the two things at once, just completely accidentally on purpose. Yeah, it's amazing how that goes. But it's a huge week, folks, because a lot of sports start across the board, especially high school. I mean, we're off and rolling. Volleyball, golf, soccer, football. I am a high school football junkie. My son's a senior, so I know the season really kicks off in earnest Thursday night. Folks, we've been listening to the weather reports. Dear God. I'm already talking about bringing like 3 different shirt changes for the football game on Friday because the humidity is going to be so bad. My nerves and adrenaline will be so high. I think I'm going to have to get one of those things I wear around my neck that's got the fans blowing. Like, I'm going to have to do something, but it's going to be a hot week for high school football. But incredibly excited for that. But then collegiate football starts here in the great state of Michigan. And we have 2 big games coming up here this week. So the first one, and I'm going to try to be fair, folks, is Friday in East Lansing, the start of the Jonathan Smith era. New coach, new coaches, new system, new quarterback. Michigan State has kind of started this tradition of playing every Friday night on Labor Day weekend, which I love. A day down in East Lansing, some barbecuing and grilling. Again, I may need to take a few shirts by the sounds of it, because it is still going to be steamy until Saturday. But they kick off 7:00 against Florida Atlantic University. Then the next day, you're defending national champions. Wow, did that taste like vinegar? The University of Michigan. They play at 7:30 at home against Fresno State. But to be fair, and I know it's said in the news, kind of some questions lingering around the program right now with some notice of allegations that are out there regarding sign stealing and Connor Stallions. And I don't know if you saw this. If you're really a football junkie, there's a Connor Stallions Netflix series that's going to be tomorrow that's going to be aired, kind of telling the story of that, which is kind of crazy because we've never heard the story of what really happened. But we know it's out there, but it's apparently going to be on Netflix the same week that the notice of allegations are out there. Really odd timing.
It's going to be the next Tiger King. I'm predicting it.
That's that what it is? I will be honest. When you see something like Tiger King, I kind of am one of those people like, I got to see what this is about really quickly, which I did. And then, you get down the rabbit hole and you're like, how did I get here? What am I watching?
Exactly. That's what it's going to be.
So I think the Connor Stallion things will be interesting. But it's football season, folks. The NFL, they're off for a week. So our Detroit Lions, who Sports Illustrated, I can't believe I'm even saying this, predicted would win the Super Bowl. I never thought we would get to this era. They don't start until a week from Sunday against the Rams and our old friend Matthew Stafford again. So, folks, get out, enjoy. It's that wonderful time of year. And that will wrap up our first hour of the Art Lewis Show. That wraps up the first hour of the Art Lewis Show. Thank you for listening in as we chatted about a variety of subjects. In the next hour, I'm going to be joined by my good friends from Chippewa Nature Center, Dennis Pilaske and Jen Kurtz. But first, the news.
From the 100.5 and 790 newsroom, this is WSGW News.
Partly cloudy skies and 80 degrees at 10:05. Good morning. I'm Mike Percha. An 18-year-old wanted in connection with a shootout in Mount Morris Township on June 25th was arrested in Ohio last Friday. U.S. Marshals arrested Amarian Kane at a gas station in Lima, Ohio. Police say Kane is a suspect in the incident, which resulted in the death of 17-year-old Kamari Lindsay, and another 17-year-old boy was critically injured. The shootout took place at a home on Hilton Lane in Beecher when an SUV arrived with three teens getting out of the vehicle to assault a male in the front yard. A person in the driveway opened fire while another person in the SUV returned fire. The SUV fled the scene. Then another person inside the house began shooting at the vehicle as it sped away. Kane will be extradited back to Genesee County to face charges. The Michigan Department of Natural Resources is looking for public input on a new draft of the State Forest Management Plan. The draft will be available to view on the DNR website at michigan.gov/DNR starting September 5th. DNR officials say the plan will serve as a guide for the next 10 years on managing 4 million acres of state forest land. There will be an online webinar September 5th when the DNR officials release the plan, providing an overview and answering initial questions. Visit the website for registration information. Public meetings will also be held September 9th, September 10th, and September 12th in both the lower and upper peninsulas. Each meeting runs from 1 to 4 p.m. Feedback on the plan can be made by emailing forestplancomments@michigan.gov. The Saginaw Township Business Association is hosting 2 forums for the upcoming November election to help educate voters on local candidates and their policies. The first takes place September 11th, and the second will be on September 18th. Each forum will take place from 5:30 to 8 p.m. at the Heritage High School Vasher Theater. The public is invited to attend. For more information, call 989-239-4479. WSGW News Time, 10:07. WSGW News Time, 10:08. The weather forecast is coming up. A Benton Harbor officer fired on a driver who was speeding toward a crowd of people on Saturday. Police say it happened around 3:45 in the morning. The officer had gotten out of his vehicle to walk toward the crowd when the car sped up. Police say 2 people were swiped by the vehicle as it sped toward the officer. The officer fired into the vehicle, hitting the driver, 18-year-old Elijah Walker, in the hand. She was taken to a hospital before being taken to jail on felony charges. Some concerns are being raised about a potentially life-saving new technology on vehicles. Here's Autobeat reporter Jeff Gilbert.
Automatic emergency braking can prevent crashes by braking faster than humans and potentially stopping for an obstacle humans can't even see. But there are more and more cases of these systems causing crashes by braking on their own. Automotive News detailing a number of investigations into individual instances. Car makers saying they're working to fix any issues with the systems, especially as emergency braking is set to be required on all vehicles by 2029. Jeff Gilbert, the Michigan News Network.
A 30-year-old man is missing from the Upper Peninsula's Marquette County. 30-year-old Ryland Parker was last seen at his family camp in Powell Township. The Marquette County Sheriff's Office says he was said to arrive at a hotel in Gladstone on Friday, but never arrived. His white Chevy Malibu was found in a wooded area near the family camp. He's described as 5'9", 180 pounds with blue eyes and long brown hair. WSGW News Time 10:10. I'm Mike Percha.
Good morning and welcome back to the Art Lewis Show. It's Matt Felan with the Great Lakes Bay Regional Alliance filling in for Art today. And folks, you're stuck with me a bunch this week. Art is on vacation for the week, so you're going to have me Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. And this week, as always, when I host a show, we bring in a variety of guests from across the Great Lakes Bay region on a variety of topics. Excited. Later in the week, we're going to hear from Delta and SVSU's presidents regarding their new partnership. Going to have a chance to chat with the folks from Amigo Mobility and Vantage Plastics about manufacturing here in the region, and a bunch of other guests in between, but those are a few of the highlights. But this hour, I'm ecstatic. I'm joined by my good friends from the Chippewa Nature Center, their executive director, Dennis Pilaske, and director of programs, Jen Kurtz. Good morning, guys.
How you doing, Matt? Good to see you.
Good morning, Matt.
So I was talking in the first hour, I don't know what it is, but doesn't this time of year, whether it's right now, I believe it's always the Tuesday after Labor Day, doesn't that feel like the Control-Alt-Delete is just done on the world and we're back at it? And the question is, does it feel that way for you guys at Chippewa Nature Center? It's fall, we're back. Does it feel like that for you guys?
Absolutely. We're gearing up for Nature Preschool starts in a couple of weeks, and our school field trips start in a couple of weeks. And so while camp wrapped up just a couple of weeks ago, we are switching gears to fall and getting ready for the fall color tours and the fall kayak trip and our fall harvest festival and all of those things that we get to celebrate when we move into this time of year.
Jen, I'm not going to lie. You're speaking my love language right now by saying fall over and over and over again. You know, the people that complain about who likes all this pumpkin nonsense, who likes pumpkin this and pumpkin spice this, and who likes fall crisp days and apple cider farms and donuts and football and leaves. I'm that guy. So all your talk of fall, I mean, you're literally speaking my love language right now. This is my time of year. This is what I'm built for. This sauna, this whatever this is out here, folks. I didn't sign up for this. This is not what I want. I'm that guy who loves the traditional Michigan fall, so I can do without. As we get started, Dennis, I always think great way to start with any of our guests. I think a lot of folks know Chippewa Nature Center. Many of our listeners have been there, have children that have been there. But I always think it's great to kind of get the big picture. Can you remind everyone what exactly is Chippewa Nature Center?
Yeah, absolutely, Matt. Chippewa Nature Center really is our regional connection to the outdoors. We have been around since 1966, and our objective is really to build strong connections between people and the outdoors so that they can see seasonally how nature has so much to offer for us, whether it's a place to relax, whether it's a place to kayak or get their kids connected to nature. We sit at the confluence of the Pine and Chippewa rivers about 3.5 miles from downtown Midland. And on that site of 1,500 acres, there's just under 20 miles of trails. We have a large visitor center with exhibits, and all of that's available to come and use for free. There's no charge to use that facility. Our board and our community has supported us to make sure that we really make efforts to keep nature accessible and not have a financial burden to make nature accessible. And there's tons and tons of great opportunities throughout our region to build connections to nature, whether it's in Bay City or Saginaw and throughout Midland. There's a lot of agencies that we partner with. And our site with a fairly large staff and the programs that we can offer really try to serve as that long-term connection for people of all ages to come out and connect to nature.
So Dennis, you talk about that confluence of the rivers, and I'm going to tell you, one of my favorite places to just go in this region, period, and do absolutely nothing is in your main visitor center. And you walk straight back all the way down. What do we call that room at the very end?
That's called the River Overlook, and that is in our main visitor center, and you're overlooking the Pine River in that particular location. But if you look downstream just about 100 yards or so, you'll see where the Pine River connects with the Chippewa River. And that is, I always say, it's the best spot to have a cup of coffee in the region, because every day it's something new, or if not every day, at least every week, something's changing seasonally, whether it's the flowers that are growing along the riverbanks, the fish that you can peer down into the river and take a look at when the river's clear, eagles flying overhead, great blue herons. It's really a remarkable spot. And the commitment to get into there, it's not a long hike. So if taking a 1 mile, 2 mile, 3 mile hike is something that is a concern, you can get into the main visitor center, walk, 50 yards or 40 yards down
And
that
you're
area.
right there.
Soft furniture, and it's a really remarkable spot to just sit back and, as you said, do nothing or do everything. Just really take in the outdoors.
So, folks, I got to tell you, I'm guilty. We often host some classes there, and we bring a group of 40 to 50, and they'll be in the middle of one of the sessions hearing phenomenal information, and I just exit stage left very quietly, and I just kind of go to the end of the visitor center, and I'm not going to lie, I just exhale. And I just look out. And what I love, we've been there at all times of year, whether it's spring, the heart of summer, the fall. And each time you're there, it has a little bit of a different look. It offers something a little bit different. But quite frankly, guys, it may be the most peaceful spot in the entire Great Lakes Bay region, where for those, I don't care if it's 5 to 10 minutes, you can literally exhale and you can feel the stress release from your shoulders. It's a gorgeous place. So if there's anything you take from this hour with Dennis and Jen, please go there and go to that spot and grab a cup of coffee and just relax. It's quite remarkable. So you guys have had a pretty big year too, though. And you guys had a groundbreaking in the spring of the Nature Education Center, and construction is well underway. Talk to us about the Nature Education Center, what this construction project looks like, and more importantly, what does it mean when it's completed?
Yeah. I'll start with the kind of put it into context. So we've seen a tremendous growth in the number of youth wanting to connect to nature through school programs and preschool and nature day camp. And we were bursting at the seams. We didn't have the space to hold all of those groups. And while we're doing outdoor education, we still need indoor space, both for transition zones and safety zones, if the weather's poor, those kinds of things. So we have to plan for indoor space. When we had one of our facilities that was a preschool classroom, but also was the main building for our nature day camp, it had some flood impact with 2020 flood. And that really pushed us to that next level as we were master planning to say, hey, we need a longer term, larger facility to really handle this expansion. And so we had really incredible community support from our local foundations, from our membership in the community to help us put together this plan for a nature education center that I think really launches the center for the next 15, 20 years about what we're looking to do with connecting youth to nature. It will primarily serve as a youth program area, and that's really Jen's area of expertise, and I'll have her share kind of what's going to happen inside that facility.
So that building is designed to be a home for Nature Day Camp. So we serve around 1,200 students summer, ages 3 to 16, through our Nature Day Camp program. So we have 130 to 150 kids on site each week. And so this provides a facility that has enough space during thunderstorms, has enough restrooms, has a kitchen for snacks and preparing meals for backpacking trips that we're taking. And then on the other end of the building, there's early childhood classrooms. And so we run a nature preschool, and one of those classrooms will be utilized for a couple of our classes. And then the other classroom is an opportunity for growth, to either grow our own program or partner with another organization. And then both of those classrooms will also be used for early childhood camp programs. So some people have asked, like, what's happening to the visitor center? What's happening to the nature preschool building? Those buildings will continue to be used in the capacity they have been used. This new building, the Nature Education Center, is an opportunity to design a space and provide a space that's really set up for camp, and on one end set up for early childhood, to make sure that we're serving those students and the staff that are working with those students in the best way possible. The last 4 years, those programs have been running out of our visitor center, which means that we had limited capacity to serve outside groups that were coming in with their own students. And we're really excited to go back to doing that in the full capacity we were.
So what a great problem to have.
Exactly.
Demand is high. Why do you guys think demand is so high? What's really driving people to say, you know what, maybe traditional education looks like X, but what you guys are doing is a little outside the norm. What do you think is drawing people's interest where they go, you know what, we want to be a part of this, and that you're in the position where you need this extra space and facility?
So for preschool, what we're offering is a preschool program that is play-based, developmentally appropriate. It follows the same curriculum that the other preschools in Midland County are using, but it is done almost entirely outdoors. and it is tailored to those students' needs, desires, interests. We have 3 full-time teachers in each classroom. It's an extremely high-quality program. And so families who have experienced it share that information with their friends and family. And so we have just a lot of folks who understand and have seen the results of their kids being a part of that program, the growth that happens with them, the enthusiasm they have for learning, how their curiosity is fostered. They are not sitting and doing worksheets. They are going out and discovering and exploring and asking their own questions and finding their own answers, which is the kind of learners that we want to have, right? We want kids and people to be curious and to be creative and to try new things. And that really happens with preschool. With our school programs and camp, it comes down to us understanding how kids learn best. We always say that the outdoors is the best learning lab because it changes every single day. There's always new questions to ask. There's always new things to discover. And kids who may not be super successful in a classroom, sitting in a chair, doing a worksheet, listening to a teacher teach them, can be incredibly successful when they're having a full body experience. All their senses are engaged. Their curiosity is welcomed. They can go off and ask these questions and look for the answer. And that is just a really powerful way of learning. It's sometimes called 3P learning: problem, place, and project-based learning. And the outdoors is really set up for that. So teachers come to the Nature Center hoping to give those kids those experiences that are difficult to replicate in the classroom. And then parents sign their kids up for camp because it's a week where they're not going to be on their technology. They're going to be outside. They'll be chasing frogs and catching insects and kayaking and camping in a tent and being with mentors who are passionate about supporting kids in their development. So we know all of that works. And then as families experience it, they want it for their other kids. They want it for their friends' kids. They want it for their family members. So we have people who travel across the state and literally across the country to come attend Nature Day Camp in the summertime. We have families that have relocated to the region to be part of Nature Preschool. So incredibly powerful programs.
So Jen, a lot to unpack there in
Yeah.
curriculum and what it means for the workforce. We're going to talk about that
Sure.
when we come back from this break. Good morning and welcome back to the Art Lewis Show. The Art Lewis Show is sponsored by Westside Decorating Center. Visit them at 5789 State Street in Saginaw or online at westsidedecoratingcenter.com. And timely enough, I was there last Friday and saw the team at Westside Decorating Center. They were helpful. They were prompt. The showroom's beautiful. We were able to get the wallpaper we needed, and they do a phenomenal job. So thank you to our friends at Westside Decorating Center for being the sponsor of the Art Lewis Show. We appreciate you. So I am joined here this hour by Dennis Pilaske and Jen Grigg from Chippewa Nature Center. And in our first segment, we were kind of talking about their expansion due to high demand. But Jen, before the break, you talked about the style of learning that's conducive to today's workforce, which is based on problem solving. It's based on communication skills. It's project-based, right?
Mhm.
It is a different style of learning that is really what employers are looking for. So as you kind of think about that, and you guys talk to employers too, it's something we care
Mhm.
about. And we, during my day job, we work together kind of on that STEM front of how does today's education meet kind of the current growing needs of our workforce? What are you hearing from employers, and why do you think that this style of education is so important to building the foundations for these kids?
Well, when I'm sitting in the meetings and chatting with folks who are at the Great Lakes Bay Regional Alliance STEM meetings to talk about that topic in our region, you hear a lot about employers needing people who are problem solvers, who are creative, who are willing to think in new ways. And to be quite frank, the students that are in school right now or heading towards school right now, we need to prepare them for jobs that we don't even know what they're going to be. We don't know in 15 or 20 or 30 years what kind of positions we're going to need. Technology is advancing quickly. Science is advancing quickly. And we need people in our workforce who are willing to seek novel solutions for problems that we currently have and problems that we'll be solving in the future. And those are the folks who you want going through the entire school system, their entire education, wondering about things and seeking information and making connections between things that they've learned before. And when you do education outdoors, which is what we specialize in, that's what you're doing all the time. Like, oh, last time I was here, I saw this in this place, and now it's different. Why is it different? Let's explore that a little bit more. Or I noticed that, this insect is only on this kind of flower. Like, why is that? And kids are, they are innate learners. They are curious. They want to know about the world around them. And especially in young children, that world's the natural world. It's the world where they're jumping in mud puddles and digging holes and catching frogs, and they learn in a hands-on way, but it inspires them to participate in their learning. So when we had preschoolers one time, this is one of my favorite examples. They caught a garter snake. There was a garter snake in their play area, so they caught it. They learned how to hold it, and then a group of preschoolers got in a heated conversation about whether or not garter snakes could swim. And it would have been very easy for the teacher to answer that question. Their teachers knew the answer. And they said, I don't know. How do you think we could find out if the garter snake could swim? And so they had a long conversation about the ways that they could find that out and whether it would be safe for the snake. Like, they're talking about all the different things. They're talking about risk and safety and scientific discovery and all this stuff. And ultimately they decided the best way to test was in a water table because it wasn't too deep, it wasn't too big, but the snake would fit in it and they could fill it. So they filled a water table with water and they put the snake in it, and garter snakes can swim. And those preschoolers who are now high schoolers, they know that answer and they know how to discover an answer. And they repeated that over and over again. And that happens all the time in our school programs and in our camp and at our preschool, where kids discover a question and then they work to discover the answer. And I think that's what we want out of our adults in the world, is to be curious, to ask questions, and to be unafraid to say, I don't know the answer, but let's figure it out. And so there's communication that happens in it. There's, reading social situations. There's just all these elements that you want to see, and we do see in successful adults as we're moving into a high-tech arena, right? But also every other position in life. You want to have a supervisor who says, hey, how should we solve this together? Instead of one who's reading out of a manual from 20 years ago about how to solve it. Like, it's just a really powerful, innate way to learn, and really respecting kids' desire to learn.
So, Jen, one of the things I see in education that's important is how do you balance that marriage of technology today, right? So I'll give you a great example. Today, via technology, there are applications on an app where you can dissect frogs on an app, and it's fantastic. And I'll tell you why. I don't know about you guys. Again, I'm going to age myself, but when I took high school biology, that was the thing you were going to do at the end of the year, and you heard all about, and you were going to dissect that frog, and that was like the penultimate moment of biology, right? But at the same point, you only got to do it once, and you did it once, and it was done so quickly. And what I love about the technology is you can go onto that app and you can dissect 1,000 frogs now, and you can go through it slowly and learn each time, right? But at the same time, you can't replace that with dissecting a frog.
Right.
There is still something to having to cut through the flesh of the frog. There's something about the odor that then is in the air, right? There's something about touching it with your hands. How are you guys dealing with this in terms of trying to find that marriage? Because I see it with my kids, right? The cell phone is a phenomenal thing. You can be somewhere and go, gee, what year was the Magna Carta written? Well, we're going to find out in like 2 seconds, right?
Yeah.
Where before it was like, well, when we get to the library later, we'll go and look it up, right? It takes a while. So there's kind of the two sides to it. And the other side, though, is get your nose out of that phone.
Right.
Quit snap, tweeting, texting, whatever you're doing. It's too much, right? How are you guys dealing with that marriage of technology to where it's a hindrance, but at the same time, a tremendous benefit?
Yeah. So in our education programs with kids, most of our technology, a phone, is held by our teacher, and so it is used as a resource. There's amazing apps on identification. You can Google answers to things, and we absolutely make use of that. We make use of scientific tools. We make use of all sorts of technology pieces. But we focus for us back on the natural world. Like, okay, we found out the name of the flower. Why does it matter? Like, so let's observe it for a while. Let's understand where it's living. Let's measure the soil moisture. Let's measure the percolation rate of the soil. Like, why is that flower here? And yes, you can find those things out. But when you experience it, it sticks with you in a more powerful way. You talk about frogs and dissection. For young kids, it's how do you hold a frog and what happens when you squeeze it too hard? Young kids.
Let's not do that. That sounds like a bad idea.
But you have to learn, right? If you've never ever held a frog in your life and you're 3 years old, your teacher shows you how to hold it. But sometimes grasshoppers, an occasional frog, they don't make it out of the experiment alive, right? But that is also an important lesson of what is death, which is a very natural part of the world. And why can't they come back, and what happened, and learning and processing that way. So you could read a book about that, certainly, but when a class experiences that together, you can see that come out in their play. And so it's just the real life piece. Like, we absolutely use technology. We absolutely use scientific things. We will have students sit with us as we look something up on our phone and learn how to do that. And with older students, we do a lot of talking about reliable resources and what resources you should go to for answers when you're looking for particular information, and cross-checking that to make sure it's accurate. You can do the Seek app on Google and identify something, but you got to know a little something to know whether it's right or not. And so cross-checking, we do all of those things, but we try to really be present in the moment, and to really spend time in the space and get to know where you are. And that is the piece that keeps that authentic part of it. One thing that we love to do with schools is do nature at their school. Take a field trip. Our staff, go to the school and do a program there, and help them learn that nature is in their space. So even if they have a lawn and a playground with mulch or pea gravel, we can do insect programs there. We can do wildflower programs there because it's actually still there. And so helping to balance that of authentic real life, as well as all the knowledge and information that is in the virtual world.
Okay, we're going to take another quick break, and we will be back with Dennis and Jen from Chippewa Nature Center. Good morning and welcome back to the Art Lewis Show. It's Matt Felan with the Great Lakes Bay Region Alliance, filling in for Art, who's on vacation this week. I have no idea where he is or what he's doing, but I certainly hope it's in air conditioning. And as I sit here and look at my friends from the Chippewa Nature Center, all I can think is this is going to be a sweaty week over at the confluence there of the rivers. That definitely going to be toasty out there.
We have lots of shade though, Matt. So.
Yeah, how do you guys deal with that on a week like this? Do you have a lot of kids there this week, or is it a little bit less and it's a little bit easier to handle? How do you handle weather like this?
Yeah, we're in our transition weeks right now between camp and preschool and school programs starting up. But certainly throughout the summer, there's lots of kids on site, and so there's opportunities for water games and shade and lots of trips through the air-conditioned visitor center to make sure that kids are staying hydrated and staying cool. So our team of staff, led by Jen, do a great job of making sure that personal safety is really a key part of their experience as well.
Yeah, as I may have mentioned, you're not going to see me hiking any trails at Chippewa Nature Center on a week like this. See me in the fall when
That's right. Things cool off.
when the ground is a little bit more crispy and there's leaves. I'll be out there. So, Dennis, I have to ask. Given my role with the Great Lakes Bay Region Alliance, we try to think regionally. And when we look at Chippewa Nature Center, I think sometimes we have to encourage, push, elbow others kind of from the neighboring counties to go and explore the county next door. Like, it's not that far away, right? I always tease, back in the day, I would give my mom a hard time if she was going from one side of the river to the other. She might as well stop at AAA and get a triptych, right?
Right.
It was going to be a major journey and it was planned, but today we zip across the region like no big deal. How do you see kind of that regional construct impacting Chippewa Nature Center? Do you see folks from the other counties coming out? And if they haven't, why would you encourage folks from the neighboring counties to come over into Midland County and see all that you have to offer?
Yeah, we're very fortunate. We do see a good percentage of our guests, whether it's drop-in guests who come to hike the trails or school groups that come out from all throughout the Great Lakes Bay region. Certainly Midland County would be the highest percentage of our user group, but Bay, Saginaw, Isabella County, and even surrounding counties are definitely seeking out their nature connection through what we're doing at Chippewa Nature Center. If you haven't been out there, I think a good reason to do that, and it kind of links in with Jen's description of place-based learning. There's the way we engage youth through their just natural curiosity and hone their own just natural curiosity that they have, but also as a resident and a citizen of the Great Lakes Bay region, understanding what's happening upstream of a particular area. All the lines that are on a map, those are human constructs, right? The rivers, the trees, the species that call those areas home, they move freely between those boundaries and borders without thinking, oh, I'm moving into this geographic region now, or I'm moving into this county right now. And so seeing what's happening upstream, seeing if the ecosystems change, just getting free access to the trails alone is a great reason to come up to the center. If that encourages you to explore some of the parks and trail systems within your own neighborhood, we see that as a win too. We don't have a monopoly on nature, but we have really a complete experience that we're able to offer at the center, both from an indoor experience with exhibits. The river overlook that you mentioned is a place to just decompress and relax and shed some of the stresses of the week, to formal programs that are available to adults only, as well as families, and all the youth programs that Jen was talking about. So we are very much part of the region. We're very much part of the watershed, which is a way that I tend to think about the Nature Center and Little Forest Conservancy and Saginaw Basin Land Conservancy, some of our colleagues in the area. We're all part of the watershed. And so the water that falls in a specific area, it's heading downstream, it's heading to the Saginaw Bay. And that is a way, I think, to tie communities together, tie people together as they go about their work in this region, but just also seeing how the natural world connects us as well.
Dennis, that's a great point. Humankind puts imaginary gray dots on a map. But when we had the tragedy of the dam collapse, nature certainly didn't stop at one of those imaginary dotted lines, did it? That water went from Gladwin to Midland to Saginaw to Bay in a hurry, didn't it? And it's kind of a reminder of, and I try to in my daily job, we get so caught up in the little neck of the world that we live in. And I always tease the people from Bay City because I think we're uber specific. Where are you from? The South End, Munger, Banks, Bangor. And people get super, I'm from Cawcolin, right? They get super specific. But at the end of the day, those dotted lines really don't matter. We're part of one community, and your point's well taken. The watershed, which is kind of the heart and soul of our region and what makes us so unique, that certainly does not care about those dotted lines. Right. And that day, or days, definitely proved that nature and water, they're going to go where they go. And we are one community when it comes down to it.
It was a really straightforward lesson in watersheds and water cycle, that experience. And it pulled communities together, but also just where these birds are going and what these resident animals are in these specific areas. It is a great way to just understand the area that we all call home. And I appreciate the pride individuals take in the section of the community that they're from, and then just backing out one concentric circle to say, hey, I'm also part of this as well. And visiting restaurants in other regions or other trail systems in other counties, I should say. It's just a great way to understand the area that we all call home.
Well, we're going to be back with Dennis and Jen and talk a little bit more about Chippewa Nature Center. Good morning. How was your sleep last night? Today's workers are asked to do more for less. So when you go to bed and spend 1/3 of your life there, you need quality sleep. Get it with a quality mattress from Sanitary Mattress. You can visit all the so called sleep stores, or you can rest assured that the mattress you're using is manufactured right here in the Great Lakes Bay region to your specifications. Your dollars are spent and stay right here in our local economy. Your time in bed may be cut short by today's demanding world, but don't be fooled. You can still get a quality good night's sleep on a Sanitary Mattress. And they feature 1 hour window delivery of your mattress to your home. If you have an RV or boat, Sanitary Mattress will custom make a mattress for you. Can the box stores do that? Visit the Sanitary Mattress Factory and Showroom, serving this area since 1935. Set your GPS to 5343 Janes Road, Saginaw, just east of the Harry Brown Airport. Visit them on the web at sanitarymattress.com or call 753 1757. Good morning and welcome back to the Art Lewis Show. It's Matt Felan with the Great Lakes Bay Regional Alliance, joined this morning by Dennis Pilaske, Executive Director, and Jen Kurtz, Director of Programs at the Chippewa Nature Center. So, Dennis and Jen, to kind of close the show, for those, that have learned a lot about Chippewa Nature Center this hour and those that are familiar with it, how are you guys set up, though? What kind of an organization are you? What kind of nonprofit? How are you funded? Kind of what's the structure?
Yeah.
Do you have a board of directors? How does it look in terms of your governance?
Yeah, we're set up as a private nonprofit, 501c3. So we have a board of directors. There's currently 14 folks who volunteer their time to help guide the center strategically and from a policy standpoint and fiduciary responsibility. And then we have 27 full-time staff and about another 40 or 45 seasonal staff throughout the year that really are the engines of the center. They're the ones that are building connections for youth, doing the programs, but also all the hard work of doing trail maintenance and the finance and marketing and the cleaning of the center itself. As far as our funding model, there's I think for successful nonprofits to have a pretty wide diversity of revenue streams is important. And so there are the fees for service that we offer. There's tuition for preschool. There's tuition for Nature Day Camp, in addition to all of the free programs that we offer. And then like other nonprofits, we also seek grants from our local foundations and beyond to help fund specific projects, to help fund some operational support. So those two elements together provide a big chunk of how we pay our bills and how we pay our staff. And then we also seek funding from the community. There's a lot of individuals who support us with annual gifts that directly go to operations to make sure that kids have access to these programs and adults have access to nature programs and as well as just a place to unwind. And so we have usually through November and December is when it falls, our annual appeal, where we send out requests for folks to help support the organization financially, which is really key. We can have trails and we can have all of those physical elements, but the human connection to make those programs successful is key, and that costs dollars. We also have had through the years an endowment set up, which we're very careful with the management of that to help offset some of our operational support as well. So between fee for service, support from our local foundations, individual donors, and then our own funding that we have internally, that's what makes the center run over these last almost 60 years. And we invite folks, if you love the center, to continue supporting us. If you've never been out before, we certainly invite you to come out to the center. Again, there's no charge to use the trails or the visitor center. And the biggest way that people can get involved is just come out. Just come out and build those connections to nature. That's the big win for us. We want folks to see nature as an integral part of their experience here in the Great Lakes Bay region, whether it's something in their own backyard in their community or out in Midland at Chippewa Nature Center.
Well, Dennis, Jen, great to see you guys as always. Thank you for all that you do. Good luck as you finish construction. And until next time, guys.
Thanks, Matt.
Thank you.
That wraps up this edition of the Art Lewis Show. Want to thank Dennis Pilaske and Jen Kurtz from the Chippewa Nature Center for joining me this morning. Up next is Focus. We're going to feature Be Well, but first the news.